And we're back with episode 33 of BrentoCast. Can you believe it? Back on our regular schedule of hitting these on Mondays. That feels good. That feels right. Today, going to tell you about an amazing time that we had this weekend. My band, the Bowers Foreman Band, Harrison's band, Lee's band, Joe's band, Tony's band, everybody's band. Just a group of friends that like to play some live music. And I've been blessed enough to provide some of that original music, and we do that in a few covers. And fortunately, Albemarle is putting on this Social Saturdays this year. It's the last Saturday of every month where they're having anybody out who wants to come play from 2 till about 8. So I have kind of reserved a spot for our little group to play every one of those. So I've played one by myself. We've played one as a band. And I believe there are 9 more scheduled at this time. Now, who knows if weather will work out, but this weekend it worked out amazing. So that would have been Saturday the 25th, I guess. It was fun. Totally crushing. You can check all that out on my YouTube channel, or eventually it'll show up on BrentBowers.com if you're looking for that link. But YouTube.com/Graybro is my main account, and you can find all my latest videos there. Moving right along, and just to recap that was really incredible. And I started the idea of trying to film these because I want to show how good we get as a band over the course of a year, having, not just the problem with most original bands or any band really is that if you don't have a gig, it gets a little tedious getting together to practice. But we have a gig for the rest of the year, once a month. So in addition to that, of course, Harrison and I, and now probably Lee McRae, who's joined us as another multi-instrumentalist, is going to support us in at least some of those shows at Loafers. So that's basically 20 shows over the course of the rest of the year, which I guess would make it one of the most busy and active years in music that I would have ever had if everything goes to plan and we play all those shows. Yesterday worked out great, except for one cable that we were missing. We were able to obtain another one, and that went fine. I would say that if my only knock is really just on myself, because I have a much, much bigger amp, and it was just way too loud. So you can hear that in the video too, unfortunately. But I learned from that. When I played acoustic, I was playing through a smaller acoustic amp, and that really seemed to work better. But for the fact that I just really want to let my hair down and cut loose and play solos, I could easily just play the acoustic for the whole show, and I may do that in future times. And I have a stretch goal of getting to the point where I can play piano, at a live show, and I might want to try to do that for one of these shows for, 3 or 4 songs to make it worth dragging that heavy thing out there. But we've been playing at the, I played these first 2. We played the last one and the one before I played at the main gazebo right in the center of town. Well, if you go down one block, there's a parking lot by the Baden Brews building in front of the big Coca-Cola mural. I'm hoping we can play down there because there seems to be a little bit more crowd, and it does feel by 6:30 it's really starting to slow down, and it does feel like there weren't as many people. Although this time we did have a built-in crowd because some folks had their prom, and there were a lot of kids coming up there taking their picture by the fountain and waiting to take their picture when we got done at the gazebo. So it was 2 parts, equally funny and cool because we had people that had to hear us. There were a few other people stopped by, but I don't care. We're just there to have fun. So it was fantastic. But moving right along to item number 2 on today's podcast, I have a very, very busy week ahead. Starting in about 45 minutes, my massage day kicks off here. I have 4 massages today, at least one I know of tomorrow. In the evenings, who knows? I'm going to try to slip off to see John Wick because it looks amazing, but I hear it's 3 hours long, and it was packed at Eastgate Cinemas yesterday. I was going to go at 4 o'clock, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it, and it'll be much more enjoyable if I don't see it with a full house. So may try to do that tonight or tomorrow night. Who knows if it'll happen, but I'm going to try it. Have the studio at Snug Records in Faith, North Carolina on Wednesday, working on Southern Lane. We have a band rehearsal, the same band I just mentioned, here at Secret Studios, my place, Thursday night around 6. And then we have another studio night back at Snug Records for Ansel Brown. You guys have heard me talk about a couple times. his activity kind of had to lessen for, I guess, real life stuff, and then he had a bout with COVID and other sore throats and stuff like that. So we'd hoped to play with him this summer, but it doesn't look like that's happening unless maybe he joins us at one of our gigs. His shows and showcases have failed to materialize, but maybe they will at some point. But anyway, we're going to try to wrap up every song that we have in progress for him in the next, within 2 or 3 more sessions. So we'll have a good long session Friday night and see how much of that we can do, because I want to kind of put a sort of a period on his album, which was kind of like this ongoing, never-ending thing. We just kept adding songs. And he told me he thought that an album was 22 songs. I'm like, bro, an album is 10, maybe 11 songs. So you've already got 14. So, and not for nothing, but I mean, we were working for free. So we don't want that to be open-ended entirely. But Bowers Foreman, that was kind of one of our formative projects, was getting out of our own style and working on somebody else's style in country music, country and rock, or country rock, however you want to say it. So I'm happy to kind of get to a point where we can, put a button on at least the first album of stuff that we've done for Ansel. So hopefully that will go well. Fingers crossed. Saturday, I don't have any specific plans other than that's Delilah Day. By the way, Delilah is now full-time in her daycare at Star Kids, I think. And that's exciting for a couple of reasons. She's getting close. I mean, she's only a few months away from being able to actually do legitimate full-time pre-K. And this is like that, just with less work, more play. And she really, really likes it up there. So she's switching from 2 days a week to full 5 days a week, mainly because she keeps getting bumped from her days because full-time students keep coming in, and they were down to one last full-time student position. So we just went ahead and took that because we got tired of getting shuffled from day to day and having to redo her schedule at gymnastics and other things like that. I do have to figure out something with gymnastics because that will be getting her out pretty early one day. I'm going to see if I can get her in a later class, and I think that will happen, so that she can get most of her school day before I grab her on Fridays. And then, so we'll do something Saturday. I don't know what it'll be. Probably going to a restaurant or a park somewhere with Delilah. We do like to go to the park at Salisbury up there early on before the big kids come out there and start swearing and stuff. It's kind of like a little kid's dream. It's a little hill with lots of climbing stuff, and they have this really soft padded turf and rocks to climb on, and she just had an amazing time the last time. And we made a little friend we kept in contact with, so hopefully she can meet her up there, and it should be good fun. Or an alternate plan for that day is we might go play putt-putt with Delilah in Kannapolis. There's a cute little place that just started up over there, and she likes it. She doesn't really play the game. She runs around a lot, but it is what it is. Just having fun is her main profession right now. So another project that I finally kicked off is creating a novel, short story, novel, or novelette, you might say, and a graphic novel about a character that I've sort of had in mind for many, many years, making renders out of this character. I used ChatGPT, which does all the craze right now, to help me sort of like outline plot, and then actually write a 30-chapter story. And 15 pages of that I went ahead and sort of converted over to a outline for a graphic novel. I mean, the typical graphic novel, I don't know if you're talking about like a complete story, that would be like, the comic book would feature like 12 pages or something like that. The complete story would be like 30, 35 pages. So I'm thinking 30 pages, but 15 pages is half of that. So that'd be my first little, we're talking 3D. I don't actually draw it. I use 3D rendering software and stuff. Although I might do some lining over, since I've started working that way on my Google tablet and really enjoy drawing that way. But I digress. I've used ChatGPT to write this thing. No, I gave it a lot of parameters that I knew I wanted. It, of course, starts off very strong because it remembers everything you've put above in the chat, but because it's overtasked, too many people are using it. They don't have enough servers. It always times out and stuff, and it will actually forget some of the stuff that's happened above, and it'll get confused. For example, I asked it to give me like a character report of everybody included in that story, and it gave me like 4 or 5 or 6 characters that I had never heard of. I would ask it, when you create character names, don't use any names that are commonly used in films associated with vampires, associated with this, associated with that. And, I'd say, hey, I want, like, for example, I want one of the characters on, Miho's vampire hunting team to be like a computer hacker. So create this character and describe her to me. And it named the character Cypher. And in another case, I said, hey, I need like another vampire hunter character, and he needs to be like a close combat specialist. It named it Blade. And in another case, it was like another vampire hunter, and named it Hunter. So, obviously everything that ChatGPT, it basically just helps you get the bulk. Put your ideas down. It gives you a few other ideas. It gets you like sort of a blocked out, bulky version of it. And then if you take that and you look at the paragraphs and you reject some of the ideas and insert some ideas that it didn't put in that you asked for or whatever, you ultimately kind of rewrite the whole thing, but it's not the same as having to start from scratch and come up with the ideas from scratch and flesh them out. I guess it's more the fleshing out part of it that ChatGPT really helps with and speeds up. Also, you can say things like, for the character, Miho Nakamura, apply the precepts of the hero's path. Well, the hero's path is like a fundamental writing technique that describes how a character's journey would be from start to finish in the story, with all the plot twists kind of where they would come and that sort of thing. And then you decide what they are, but you follow that structure, and you tend to have a really compelling, good, fun-to-read story. So that's the idea, but I am using that, and I even used it to, create an HTML page that I'm going to be making the characters, making for myself really, so I can like have renders of the characters. I can look at them and visualize them from the 3D renders I've created as I write about them or whatever. And some of the characters it kicked out were pretty cool. Most of them I had to kind of give it, and a lot of them I'm going to have to just change the names because it didn't follow my direction exactly. But I mean, it's an AI, it's not a person. So, but it's fun. It's fun working with that new technology. Obviously, I've been for 6 months now using it in my render art and things like that. So, one of the really fun things I'll do with my Google Tab is to like draw a stick figure person in a particular pose, and then I'll use that drawing, put it into Midjourney, which is an AI text to image generator, and tell it, make a knight holding like a sword, in this pose or whatever. And it'll do that and spit out something close. And then I'll take that and I'll draw over top of that, tracing it and, redefining what it looks like. Put that back in. You can just get some crazy effects. And it's just really, really, really entertaining and a great way to keep your creativity flowing. I will say that there's going to be a little bit of a difference between the video on my GoPro sort of video of me doing this live, because I just lost about maybe 5 to 7 minutes of talking about what I'm about to talk about here for the second time, because something happened and it just turned off. Who knows why? Going to talk now about basically producing / reproducing, refining 2 songs for my online internet buddy Les Garner, who is I'm temporarily believe incapacitated with his left side, and he can't play music, but he's recorded some amazing music to date. Excuse me, and get a little sip of my Dasani here. Years ago, I went up and visited Les in Moorhead, Kentucky, and we played some live music, and I was really floored by his flexibility and ability in general on guitar. So I'm going to do 2 songs from an album that he created some time ago called Between the Bones, very much in the style of Zakk Wylde, Pride and Glory, the album from Zakk Wylde. This reminds me of quite a lot. Really good songs, and fortunately, Les did home recordings of those, and so he has MIDI drums and the original recordings, which he's supplied me with now. I'm going to take those into the studio at Snug Record Studio, and this will become my 4th consecutive project that I'm moving through the production process. I'm going to reproduce these songs, maybe reamp some guitars, use his MIDI files to create better drums, and just an overall improved and better mix. slight amount of maybe vocal tuning and perhaps even sing some back-end vocals in at least one case I'm thinking of. But I'm going to just see what I can do with these recordings and see how I can make them sort of as my little gift to Les for all the inspiration he's given me. And, who knows, maybe we'll get a chance to do another album when he gets, regains the use of his left hand, which I believe is going to happen because he is one of the hardest workers I've ever met. So this is a really condensed version. I expounded on this a lot more, but unfortunately it wasn't recorded. If you want to hear the rest of me talking about my relationship with Les and, our work together and some of his work that's really inspired me, check out the live take video of me recording this because it should be on there. Moving right along, I've got a new character coming out with for Genesis 9 figure called Ozwolf, inspired by the Ozzy Osbourne werewolf. It'll be for male and female, Genesis 8 and 9 for the male for sure, probably just Genesis 9 for the female. And when that does finally drop and that deal is done, I'm going to talk about the guy that built this for me based on my designs, and hopefully I'll be doing some more creature work with him because he's really awesome. He's an Indian developer, and he has multiple personas, and so I got to talk to him about if it's okay to talk about who he is and that sort of thing and which persona we should be talking about, because he's a big-time developer. Daz uses them a lot. Other people use them, and I'd like to work with him too, so hopefully that'll go well and we can move forward. Now, I mentioned Delilah going to pre-K full-time now, 5 days a week. This is going to open up some time for me to get back on my learning path with Blender, and really, really, really am dedicated to the idea of learning to build things, particularly architectural things, that I can sell, and I won't have to depend as much like I am on the Indian developer. I used to depend on Les for some of this stuff. He got too busy, and ultimately that's what always happens. These guys, the good ones, become too successful to bother with somebody like me. Anyway, moving right along, Harrison and I will be back at Loafers and Legends at 7 o'clock, April 8th. Probably going to have Lee McRae with us, who played this last show and is in the Live Play Electric Band. And I'm really, 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 really looking forward to that. Music is just at an all-time poppiness for me right now, and that's amazing. I love my time with Delilah, but it does sometimes fill up my weeks between that and honeydews with Nancy. So I'm very, very happy to get a chance to maybe just have a few more hours a week to put on my learning and improving myself and music rehearsal. Obviously, with 4 consecutive music projects going, it's very, very easy to not have enough time to put on each individual piece. I've gotten the first song for the second half of the Vigil Brothers album, and it's pretty cool. Haven't done too much to it, but that will go a little bit more live in the studio kind of work this time, I think, so hopefully it won't require as much pre-production as last time. We did get some very good results with those first 7 songs I think we did, and these will just be a little bit more with the guys in the room, and that'll be taking place sometime, I think, in the end of June. If all goes to plan, Nancy and I are going to do a little staycation later in the week, maybe Sunday, who knows, we'll see. We'll see if we get to do that. But another busy week, and busy is good. Busy is always good. So anyway, thanks for listening, and hope you guys have a great week, and I'll be back soon with more of the What's What.